Welcome back to Unlock, Empower, Transform. I'm Shay Blackmon, founder of Shay Blackmon Consulting, author of High Value Leadership, Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture, and a DBA candidate in organizational leadership. And today we are talking about something that is very close to my own story. Let me ask you a question. When someone asks what you do you struggle to give a one-sentence answer? Do you find yourself saying, well, I do this and I also do this, and then on the side, I'm building this other thing? If so, congratulations. You are not scattered. You are not unfocused. You are a portfolio professional, and this episode is for you. The traditional career ladder is cracking. It has been for a while, but the pandemic ripped the curtain all the way back. The idea that you work for one company, climb one ladder, retire with a pension and a gold watch, that model was already on life support before most of us hit mid-career. And now an entirely new model is emerging, one built around fractional leadership, consulting, and portfolio careers, where one professional serves multiple organizations simultaneously, bringing senior-level expertise to companies that need it without the overhead of a full-time executive hire. Today, we are covering why GenX professionals are leading this shift, how to build a portfolio career without burning the bridges you spent decades constructing, and when organizations should seriously consider bringing in fractional HR and culture leadership. This is personal for me because I live it. So let's get into it. There is a reason this movement is being led by Gen X professionals and not by any other generation. And it goes deeper than economics, although the economics are part of it. Gen X professionals are in a unique position. We have the experience, 20, 25, 30 years in the workforce. We have seen recessions, restructurings, mergers, layoffs, and cultural transformations from the inside. We know how organizations actually work, not the textbook version, but the messy, political, human version. But here's the thing that separates us. We are also the generation that watched loyalty get repaid with a cardboard box and an escort to the parking lot. We saw our parents give 40 years to a company and get restructured out with 6 weeks of severance. So we learned early that our career security does not live in any one organization. It lives in our skills, our reputation, and our network. That is not cynicism. That is pattern recognition. In High Value Leadership, I write about purpose-driven vision as the first pillar of the High Value Leadership Trademark Framework. And here is where it applies directly to your career, not just to organizational leadership. Purpose-driven vision means you are clear about your why, not your employer's why, yours. When you lead from that clarity, whether you are serving one organization or 5, your impact is consistent because your values are the through line. That is what makes fractional leadership work. The leader is not defined by the org chart. The leader is defined by what they bring to every room they walk into. Now, there is also a market reality driving this. Mid-sized companies, especially in manufacturing, healthcare, and professional services, are realizing they need senior HR leadership and culture expertise, but they do not need it 40 hours a week. They cannot justify a $200,000 CHRO salary, but they absolutely need the strategic thinking that a CHRO provides. Fractional leadership fills that gap. And Gen X professionals, with our depth of experience and our comfort with ambiguity, are the perfect fit for it. I also think there is an identity component here that does not get discussed enough. By mid-career, many of us have realized that we are not one thing. I am an HR strategist. I am also an author, a consultant, a speaker, a doctoral candidate, a podcast host. Each of those roles feeds the others. The consulting work informs the writing. The writing informs the teaching. The teaching sharpens the consulting. That is not a scattered career. That is a portfolio, and it is by design. Now, here is where this gets practical. Because the romantic version of the portfolio career is quitting your job, announcing your consulting practice on LinkedIn, and watching the clients roll in. The realistic version is significantly more nuanced, and the professionals who build sustainable portfolio careers are the ones who approach the transition with the same strategic discipline they brought to their corporate roles. First, let me be direct about something. You do not have to choose between a traditional role and a portfolio career. In fact, most successful fractional leaders I know started by doing both. They kept their primary role while building their consulting brand, their thought leadership, their network. The transition was gradual, intentional, and strategic. Nobody is asking you to leap off a cliff. I am suggesting you build the plane while it is still on the runway. In high value leadership, I talk about authentic connection as the fifth pillar, and this is where it becomes critical for career transitions. Your professional relationships are not just networking contacts. They are the ecosystem that will sustain your portfolio career. The colleague from the manufacturing plant who becomes a client. The mentor from your healthcare role who refers you to a private equity firm. The peer from the professional services company who co-facilitates a leadership workshop with you. These connections do not happen by accident. They happen because you invested in real relationships, not transactional ones. So here are the principles I have seen work, both in my own experience and in watching others navigate this transition successfully. First, never leave a role as a liability. Leave as a legend. The way you exit a position determines whether that organization becomes a referral source or a cautionary tale. Finish strong. Document your work. Transition your responsibilities thoroughly. Make your departure a reflection of your professionalism, not your frustration. Second, define your niche before you market yourself. The biggest mistake I see professionals make when transitioning to consulting or fractional work is trying to be everything to everyone. That is a recipe for being nothing to no one. Get specific. What industries do you know best? What problems do you solve that nobody else in the room can? What transformation have you led that you can replicate? The answer to those questions is your positioning. Third, build your intellectual property. This is where most people underestimate the investment required. A portfolio career runs on credibility, and credibility is built through content, through thought leadership, through published work, through frameworks that are yours. I did not write 3 books because I enjoy the editing process. I wrote them because those books are assets that work for me 24 hours a day. They establish expertise, open doors, and create conversations that lead to engagements. Let me flip the lens now and talk to the organizations in the room, because the other side of this conversation is equally important. When does it make sense for a company to bring in fractional leadership instead of hiring a full-time executive? The short answer is more often than most companies realize, but let me give you some specific indicators. If your organization is between 20 and 200 employees and you do not have a senior HR leader, you are operating with a gap that is costing you money, talent, and risk exposure every single day. You are making compliance decisions based on Google searches. You are managing culture by accident instead of by design. And you are losing good people because nobody is paying strategic attention to the employee experience. A fractional CHRO or fractional HR leader gives you access to that senior strategic capability on a part-time basis. You get the thinking, the frameworks, the experience without the full-time cost. And here is what most companies do not understand until they experience it. The ROI is almost immediate. Because a seasoned HR leader sees the turnover problem, the engagement gap, the compliance risk, and the leadership pipeline issue within the first 30 days, and they come with the playbook to address all of it. This connects directly to stewardship of culture, the second pillar of high-value leadership. Culture does not maintain itself. It requires intentional stewardship. And if your organization does not have someone in a senior role whose job it is to steward the culture, then culture is being shaped by default, by the loudest voice, by the most tenured manager, by the path of least resistance. That is how organizations end up with cultures they never intended and turnover they cannot explain. There was a company, a PE-backed manufacturing firm with about 80 employees, who brought in fractional HR after their third plant manager quit in 2 years. 3 leaders in 2 years. They assumed it was a compensation issue. It was not. It was a culture issue. The expectations were unclear, the onboarding was non-existent, and the support infrastructure for leadership was absent. A fractional HR leader identified the root cause in the first month, built an onboarding and support framework, and the fourth plant manager stayed. Sometimes the solution is not more money. It is better systems built by someone who has seen the pattern before. All right, exercise time. I call this one the Portfolio Career Readiness Assessment. 5 questions. Grab your notebook or open your notes app. Question 1. What are the 3 to 5 professional skills you are most known for? Not job titles, skills. The things people come to you for, regardless of your role. If you cannot name them, you are not ready to position yourself yet, and that is fine. Start paying attention. Question 2. Who are the 10 people in your network who would refer you for work tomorrow if you asked? Not acquaintances, people who have seen your work, trust your judgment, and would put their name on a recommendation. If you cannot get to 10, you know where to invest your energy. Question 3. What is your intellectual property? Do you have a framework, a methodology, a published perspective, or a body of work that differentiates you from every other professional with your title? If not, start building it now, because in a portfolio career, your IP is your competitive advantage. Question 4. Can you clearly articulate the transformation you deliver in one sentence? Not your resume, not your job description, the result. For example, mine is, I help organizations build high-value cultures where both people and performance thrive. What is yours? Question 5. What does your ideal professional life look like in 3 years, and does your current trajectory get you there? This is the purpose-driven vision question, and it connects directly to the Shield Resilient Strategy Guide, specifically the self-awareness section. The guide asks you to identify pattern recognition questions. What situations consistently challenge you? What early warning signs can you identify? Apply those same questions to your career. What patterns are you seeing? What is your career trying to tell you? This is not about making a reckless decision. This is about building self-awareness so that when the opportunity comes, and it will come, you are ready. Let me bring this home. The portfolio career and fractional leadership model is not a trend. It is a structural shift in how senior professionals deliver value and how organizations access expertise. And it is being led by GenX professionals who have the experience, the resilience, and the strategic clarity to make it work. Whether you are a professional exploring your next chapter or an organization wondering why your leadership bench is thin, this conversation matters. And the principles are the same ones I teach in my book, High-Value Leadership, Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture. Chapter 11, Sustainable Leadership Practices, covers exactly this terrain: building long-term vision, creating sustainable systems, developing capabilities that endure beyond any single role. Whether you are building your own portfolio career or leading an organization through transformation, those frameworks apply. The link to grab your copy is in the show notes. And if you are serious about taking your leadership to the next level, the High Value Leadership Intensive course is coming. This is designed for leaders who are ready to operationalize these concepts, whether you are in a full-time role, a fractional position, or building something entirely your own. Get on the wait list. The link is in the show notes. Now go download the Shield Resilient Strategy Guide. It is free, and it is especially relevant to today's conversation. If you are navigating a career transition, building a portfolio, or even just questioning what your next move should be, The SHIELD framework gives you tools for self-awareness, healthy coping during times of uncertainty, building your internal resources and confidence, activating your external support network, maintaining a learning orientation, and establishing daily practices that keep you grounded while you grow. Every single component of that framework applies to professional transitions. The download link is in the show notes. Drop a comment below. Tell me, are you building a portfolio career? Are you considering fractional leadership? Or are you an organization that has been thinking about bringing in fractional expertise? I want to hear where you are in this journey. I read every comment. Subscribe, share this with a professional who is at a crossroads, and leave a review if this episode gave you clarity. Coming up on Tuesday, we are tackling a topic that is going to ruffle some feathers. From compliance to competitive advantage, rethinking HR's role. If you have ever wondered whether HR can be more than a compliance function, that is your episode. Until next time, keep unlocking your potential, empowering your teams, and transforming your culture. This is Shay Blackmon. Now go lead with purpose.